My neighbor kept parking in my spot when his friends came over. I had him towed twice. He acted cool about it. Too cool. A week later, I found a box in my driveway. Inside was my mail, torn to pieces. Then I realized my cameras had been turned off. I live in a townhome just outside Columbus, Ohio. Each unit has a single driveway, tight space, barely fits 2 cars nose to tail. It's clear, your spot is yours, not shared, not guest parking. Street parking exists, but it's far and fills up quick. That's the context. I've lived here 5 years. Quiet neighborhood. Retired couple across the street. Single mom with a kid next door. No major drama. That changed when Caleb moved in. He bought the unit attached to mine. Guy in his early 30s, maybe late 20s. Shaggy beard, worn hoodies, headphones in most of the time. We shared a lawn and a porch wall, so I tried to be neighborly. I said hello. He nodded once, kind of like he didn't really want to talk. Fine. Some people are like that. But within a month, I noticed the cars. Not his car, his friends. They'd come by late or when I wasn't home and park in my spot. Like literally my driveway. I'd pull in, find a random sedan or SUV there. No note, no explanation. First time it happened, I knocked. One of his friends opened the door, said, "Oh, sorry dude, didn't realize," and moved it. I let it go. Then it happened again. And again. I left a note. I printed a sign. I even texted the HOA, but they don't get involved unless someone reports it formally multiple times. So I knocked again. This time Caleb answered. He leaned on the doorframe, eyes half-lidded like I'd woken him up from a nap he didn't care about. I told him straight up, "Your friends keep parking in my spot. It needs to stop." He just said, "Yeah, man. I'll tell them." Nothing changed. 2 weeks later, I came home from work, 7:30 p.m., raining, and there's a silver Nissan sitting in my driveway. No one in sight. Porch lights off. I sat in my car for a second, staring at it, soaked with frustration. That was the last straw. I called a tow company I'd looked up weeks earlier, just in case. They came in under 20 minutes. I watched from my front window as they lifted the car and drove off. Caleb didn't come outside. No one did. That surprised me. I figured I'd hear about it. Maybe yelling. Maybe a confrontation. But nothing. Next morning, I saw Caleb grabbing a package off his porch like nothing happened. He looked up at me, gave this little smirk, said, "All good, bro." Like I hadn't just cost his friend $200. A few days later, it happened again. Different car this time. Same spot. I called the tow truck again. Still, no reaction. Caleb stayed polite. Quiet. Calm. Too calm. That's when I started paying attention to the little things. The way my porch light flickered once when I turned it on. A weird smudge on my car window that looked like a handprint. I told myself I was being paranoid. Then last Monday, I walked outside to leave for work and saw a cardboard box at the edge of my driveway. It wasn't taped. It looked like trash, half collapsed, edges soaked from the morning dew. I almost walked past it. Then I saw the envelope sticking out. I opened it. Inside was a mess, my mail. Torn up letters, pieces of bills, a shredded envelope with my name barely visible. My credit card statement, ripped in half. A postcard from my mom, destroyed. It was mail I never even received. That's when it hit me. This stuff never made it inside my house. It had been taken before I saw it. My hands started shaking. I went back to the porch and looked up at my security camera, the one I installed last year after a package was stolen. The light was off. I went inside, opened the app, and checked the feed. The last recording was from Friday. For whole days missing. No alerts, no motion, nothing. It had been turned off. The only way to do that is to reach under the porch awning and unplug it. You'd have to know exactly where the cord is. It's not obvious. I stood there for a long time, holding that torn postcard. I don't know if it was Caleb or one of his friends. But I know this. Someone walked onto my property, got close enough to my porch to disable a camera, and went through my mail. And they wanted me to find it. That's when I realized. This wasn't about parking anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I left the porch light on, even though it barely lit anything past the steps. I double-checked every lock, closed every curtain. I even slid a chair under the doorknob like it would matter. My brain was stuck in a loop. Someone walked up to my house, disabled my camera, and shredded my mail. And no one saw anything. I called the police the next day. Not 911. Just the non-emergency line. I told the officer what happened. The parking issues, the towing, the box of ripped-up mail, and the disabled camera. He listened, said it sounded suspicious, but unless I had video or caught someone in the act, there wasn't much they could do. Mail tampering's a federal issue, he said. Could be worth filing a report with the USPS. That made me feel even worse. The guy basically admitted it was serious, but not serious enough unless I had proof. So I filed the USPS complaint, printed out the photos of the damaged mail, and started keeping everything. Every note, every odd package, every weird noise. I also bought 2 new cameras. I put one inside, aimed through the window at the porch. The other I mounted under the eaves, where someone couldn't reach it without a ladder. I didn't tell anyone.
Didn't post about it.
I just waited. 2 days later, it happened again. A car in my driveway. Middle of the afternoon, while I was home working upstairs. I saw it pull in like they didn't even check first. I recognized the guy when he got out. Same friend who said, "My bad," the first time this all started. So I grabbed my phone, hit record, and walked outside. I didn't yell. I didn't swear. I just said, "You're not supposed to be here. This is my driveway. If you don't move, I'm calling the tow company again." He looked up from his phone. Totally casual. "Just 5 minutes, bro. I'm running something inside."
No.
"Move it now." He rolled his eyes, mumbled something under his breath, and got back in the car. That night, I checked my cameras. Nothing weird happened. No one came up to the porch. No one touched the new setup. I thought maybe things were calming down. But I was wrong. 3 nights later, I heard a sound at 3 a.m. Not loud, not obvious, just something. Like a small knock. I sat up in bed, heart pounding, and opened the camera app. Someone had passed through the side yard. It was just a blur. The motion sensor caught them as they walked between the 2 houses. Dark hoodie, fast stride. Could have been Caleb. Could have been someone else. They didn't stop. Just walked through and out of frame. The next morning, I found the tire on my car slashed. Front passenger side. Deep cut, almost hidden under the fender. I didn't notice until I started driving and felt the drag. I pulled over, looked, and just stood there. That's when I knew this wasn't just about territory. This was a warning. I called the police again. This time they came out. The officer looked tired. Said all the right things, took photos, wrote a report, asked if I had any enemies. I mentioned Caleb. I told him about the parking, the mail, the cameras, now the tire. He nodded a lot but didn't say much. Finally, he said, "No witnesses, no video of the actual damage, we'll file it, but just keep an eye out." That was it. So I started documenting everything. I made a folder on my desktop, Caleb incidents. I listed dates, times, photos, screenshots from the camera. I even got a cheap voice recorder and started keeping it by the window. I felt like I was building a case. Against what? I wasn't even sure anymore. I just knew I couldn't trust him, or the people coming and going from his place. Then something new happened. My trash can went missing. Sounds stupid, I know. But it wasn't blown away or misplaced, it was just gone. I walked the whole block looking for it. Nothing. The next day, I found it 2 streets over, in an alley, half melted like someone had lit a fire inside it. No one else's cans were touched. Just mine. A day later, a package I'd ordered, some new motion-activated lights, never showed. Marked delivered on the tracking site, but it wasn't on the porch. My cameras didn't catch anyone approaching. I called the company. They sent a replacement. That replacement arrived 2 days later, opened. Not just the box. The lights inside were taken apart. Just the wiring left. Like someone had opened it, messed with it, and resealed it to look untouched. No fingerprints, no obvious sign of who did it. I didn't tell anyone. Not even the police. I started to think I was going crazy. I started keeping my phone next to me even when I showered. I started checking my cameras every hour, even at work. My chest felt tight all the time. I had trouble sleeping. Every sound outside felt suspicious. And then Caleb invited me over. I came home one night and found a note on my door. Handwritten on lined paper. Let's clear the air. Come by tonight, 8 p.m. See, I stared at it for a long time. I wasn't going, but then something made me curious. I wanted to see his face. I wanted to hear what he'd say.
So at 8:05, I knocked.
He opened the door smiling.
Hey man.
Glad you came. I stepped inside. The place smelled like weed and takeout. Music was playing low, some old hip-hop track. Two of his friends were on the couch. Both looked up but didn't say anything. Just watched me. Caleb pointed toward the kitchen. Let's talk. I followed. He grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, slid one across the counter. So, he said, been a lot of tension. Thought maybe we should chill. Reset. No hard feelings. I didn't drink it. I just said, you've been messing with my stuff. Turning off cameras. Going through my mail. Slashing my tire. Why? He didn't even flinch. He just smirked and said, nah man, you've been escalating things. Getting people towed. Watching everyone like we're suspects. Kind of weird behavior. That's when I knew. He wanted me to confront him. He wanted to flip the story. Make it seem like I was the one overreacting. Like he was the calm one, and I was just paranoid. So I left. Didn't say anything else. But something in me shifted after that night. I was done being scared. I stopped trying to play defense. The next day, I took off work and started doing research. I pulled property records, looked up Caleb's name, and found something that gave me a knot in my gut. He wasn't the owner, he was renting. The actual owner was an older guy who lived 2 states away, probably didn't care what was happening on the property as long as the rent cleared. That gave me an idea. I found the owner's info through a property tax site, then sent him a long, detailed letter. I included copies of the police reports, screenshots from the camera footage, photos of the tire, the mail, even the open package. I told him calmly that if this continued, I'd escalate through legal channels. I made sure to say I wasn't threatening, just documenting. I mailed it certified. Wanted proof, he got it. 3 days later, I got a call. The owner sounded surprised. Said he had no idea there were problems. He apologized more than once. Then he asked, do you have actual evidence of this guy tampering with your property? I said, not yet, but I'm working on it. And I was. Because that same week, I set a trap. I placed a fake Amazon package on my porch. Inside, a cheap GPS tracker, some old junk, and a piece of paper that said, smile. I wrapped it just like a normal box. Put it where my real deliveries always go. And I waited. 3 days. Nothing. On the 4th day, it disappeared. I checked the camera. The porch one had a clear shot. It wasn't Caleb. It was one of his friends, the same guy I saw park in my driveway before. He walked up, grabbed the box like it was his, and walked back toward Caleb's side. I tracked the GPS from my laptop. It pinged once from a block away. Then again near a gas station. Then it went offline. The next day, I went to the gas station. I asked the clerk if they had outdoor cameras. He said yes, but I needed to request footage through the police.
So I did.
I sent the report, attached the footage of the guy stealing the box, and said it was part of a larger harassment issue. Took 3 days, but the officer I spoke to before finally called back. You're right, he said. We got the guy on video dumping something in the station's trash. Looks like your box. Definitely looks like the same guy from your porch footage. That's when the tone shifted. The officer said they'd start looking into it more formally. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but it felt like progress. Then, 2 days later, Caleb's door got kicked in. I heard it. I looked out my window and saw 2 police officers on the porch, shouting. A third stood by a cruiser, talking to one of Caleb's friends. They were calm, but serious. I stepped outside, didn't say a word. Just watched. An hour later, they left. Caleb didn't come back that night. Or the next. By day 3, the house was quiet. I thought it was over. Then I came home and found a note stuck to my door. Plain envelope.
No stamp.
Just my name. Inside it said, "You think this is done? We're just getting started."
No signature.
No clue who left it. But I knew the handwriting. It wasn't Caleb's. It was someone else. The police said they'd keep an eye on things. That was the last I heard from them. Caleb never moved back in. His friends disappeared too. The house sat quiet for weeks. Then a "for rent" sign showed up in the yard. But I never stopped checking over my shoulder. Every time I come home, I still scan the street before pulling in. I check the camera feed twice before bed. I lock the door, then check it again an hour later. It's like a reflex now. Something in me changed. And I still don't know who left that note. Maybe it was one of them. Maybe it was someone else entirely. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that they wanted me to feel like it wasn't over. And the truth is, sometimes I think they're right. Because even now, I find myself flinching when the doorbell rings. And I still haven't thrown the note away.